but I'll introduce myself. I'm Gabriel Bosslet. I think this is probably a more important an introductory slide than my usual talks. Besides these things, which is probably the most important things, and there's my oxytocin right there, Graham. So I am also a faculty member at IU School of Medicine, one of Graham's partners in pulmonary and critical care medicine. And I am here to talk about how not to lose your amygdala. So before we get started, I want everyone to think of a loss that they've experienced recently. It does not have to be a big loss, okay? It can be anything. Something recent, a recent loss. Maybe it is big, I don't know. And I want you to just write it down or just kind of put it in your back pocket for a few minutes. If you can't think of anything this moment, that's fine. We're going to come back to it in a couple of minutes. So what is the amygdala? The amygdala is part of the limbic system. It rests way down in your lizard brain. And it is the part of you that does what Graham referred to this morning as System 1 thinking, okay? If System 1 and System 2 thinking came from what book? Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. If you haven't read this book, you should read this book. It is Nobel Prize winning work. It is really insightful as to the way that we act, function, and behave. The amygdala is extremely important in sort of moderating our fight and flight response, but also moderating our emotional reactions to things. So you guys, so with a raise of hands, so who here is a Marion student? Okay, who here is an IU student? Okay, first year med students? What, you guys all, do they make you sit over there? Second years? Third years? Fourth years? Okay, congrats to all you fourth years, I hope. The ones who got the soap emails probably aren't here, I would imagine they're at home. So the cortex of your brain is the outer part of your brain. Most of you guys know this. And this is the part of your brain that you've been exercising for the last 4 years for some of you, 1 year for some of you, and for some of us, 20 years, right? This is the part of your brain that you have been trained to utilize to the nth degree in becoming physicians, in sort of being socialized to be a physician. You have got to learn how to use your cortex well. The difficulty is that the important way that we manipulate our emotional responses to things is in sort of not in, I don't know how to use this thing. It's not in this area, right? It's down here. It's in your amygdala. And med school kind of makes you ignore that for a little bit of time. By necessity, right? It's very important that you guys drink from the fire hose of knowledge for a few years to sort of understand the things that you need to understand. And at the same time, allowing the connection between your cortex and your amygdala to atrophy leads to problems. So I'm going to talk pretty specifically about, so Graham talked this morning about the science behind some of the stuff I'm going to talk about this morning. I'm not going to present any data at all. I'm going to tell you granular, specific things you can do to protect the cortex-amygdala pathway. So we heard two definitions this morning, actually one definition twice, of resilience. That's wonderful. To me, resilience lies in the eyes of the beholder. Okay, what is resilience for you? And I think that's a really important question to ask yourself, because I think it's different for me than for any of you guys sitting out there. And I'll tell you what resilience is for me. Resilience for me is relationships and recharge time. It's some titration between the relationships that I hold with those people around me, both in my personal life and in my work life. And that is offset by the recharge time that I allow myself to have in order to sort of take care of myself. We're going to talk about sort of, for me, what works in both of these areas and both of these components on a really granular level. This may not be what works for you, but I think for a lot of people, some of these things will ring true. So take what works for you and run with it. And what doesn't, leave behind. Now, don't leave things behind just because they're a little bit uncomfortable, though, right? So my son, Eli, plays piano, and he has this really, really strict Russian piano teacher, Irina, and like really strict. And she says this, growth only comes from pain. He hates to hear that, but I think it's absolutely true. So if some of the things that I say here challenge you a little bit, it may be that it won't work for you at all. It may just be that it's a little painful and you need to grow in that area a bit. So just think about things that way. So I'm going to start with relationships. So relationships are all around us every day. Relationships start the moment I wake up in the morning, and they go through literally every moment that I go through my day, whether I'm in my academic office working with fellows, whether I am in the hospital. And relationships are far more than just the patients that we see. It's the house staff that we work with. It's our colleagues. It's the janitors. It's the people who deliver the food. A lot of personal pleasure was opened up for me when I started to realize those people who support us around the hospital. So I put this up there to show, where's Waldo, by the way? Can anybody see him? He's like it's really hard to see. He's right here. He's right there. It took me like four or 5 minutes yesterday. So the point of this is to say that relationships are everywhere, and relationships need not be limited to those in your sort of hierarchical sphere in the hospital. So I was asked to give this talk a little while ago, and I give a talk here at Marion that refers to some of this stuff, but not really at all. And so I was trying to think of how I could sort of change it up. And in doing so, I realized that there were things that I'd learned from experience that I wanted to talk about, and so I tweeted about them. So I'm going to show some of this part just in tweets. And forgive me, I'm borrowing from myself here. But I said that I started these tweets by saying the following simple everyday things physicians can do to improve therapeutic connections with patients. And this is not a correct tweet. I wish I would have changed this tweet, and I would have said this. The following are simple things humans can do to improve therapeutic connections with other humans. Because while these things apply to those patients that are across the table, across the exam room, or across the hospital room from us, really, these are all things we learned in kindergarten. And we need but go back to them and apply them to our daily life to sort of really find meaning. The first one is to find out and figure out a way to know people's names. And I'm not talking about the residents that you're working with, your student colleagues. I'm talking about, like I said before, the janitors, the people who deliver the food. There's a janitor at IU, Dawn. And Dawn is, Dawn cleans the areas around the intensive care unit. And Dawn makes me blush every single day. Dawn, we have this ongoing sort of joke where she kind of cat calls me as I'm walking down the hall. And it is one of the things that I enjoy the most. I love being catcalled. Doesn't happen that often. A beard like this, no hair. No, but Dawn and I just have this relationship where we razz each other, we know each other, we both know each other by our first names, and she's one of the people that makes me smile every time that I see her in the halls. And truth be told, 6 or 7 years ago, Dawn was someone I never would have noticed. Because it wasn't part of, I was trying to survive, frankly. And so take a little bit of time to get to know those people, because some of the coolest people in the hospital are those people that are easy to overlook, okay? Sit down. Anytime you have to have a conversation that's more than something simple, sit down. If you're ever on my service and I walk into the room and you're lording over a patient, having a conversation about something that patient thinks is important, I'm going to pull you aside outside the room. Find a chair. If there's no chair in there, make a big deal about finding a chair. and sit down. Sit down so that your eyes are at or below the level of the patient. If I can't find a chair, and this is not a joke, I don't see anyone in here that's been on service with me when I've done this, but I'll sit on the ground if I have to have a conversation that I perceive is going to be difficult for that patient. Or if I start a conversation and realize that I thought it was going to be a piece of cake, but they think it's difficult. So sit down. There is empiric data. They studied this. So they had doctors go into a room, and they timed the amount of time the doctor went into the room. They asked some of them to sit and some of them not. They asked some of them specifically to sit. The other ones they didn't say anything to. Most of those people stood. The doctor walked out of the room, and then they asked the patient, how long was the doctor in the room? The sitters were in the room less. The sitters were in the room like 1.25 minutes. The standers were in the room like 1.33 minutes. But the patients thought that the sitters were in the room 5.5 minutes, and the standers were in the room 3.5 minutes. This is free time, people. You may as well take it. So sit down. Ask about something completely irrelevant. When you go to see a patient, ask them about something completely irrelevant to why they're there. When I'm on service, I usually ask, where do you live? What do you or did you do for a living? And do you have kids? These are my starting points. If they have a shirt on, if they have a brown shirt, I ask about their brown shirt. Ask about something irrelevant. If you're interested, read this article from the New England Journal of Medicine. It's really good. It talks about the importance of these things. And what are you doing here? You're getting to know the person as a human being, not as the diagnosis sitting across from you. Next, when you're discussing this irrelevant thing, ask a follow-up question. Don't leave it there. Be curious about it. Say more about that, right? What's the gold thing? Tell me more. I love tell me more. It's the best explore statement and it's the best in the world. Ask them to tell me more. This works great with spouses and kids, right? I have twin 12-year-old boys. I use tell me more 5 times a day. If you ever go to, sometimes I teach small group sessions, you're going to roll your eyes every time I say tell me more, because I'll say it 100 times. Say gosh when you don't know something. That's a great word. Gosh is the most humble word you can possibly say. This is really dumb, isn't it? But it's really true. It's a really humble word. Try it with your spouse. They'll roll their eyes at you, but it will work. Ask permission to have hard conversations. This is super powerful. If you have to have a difficult conversation with someone, ask them permission first. Why? Because as soon as they say and give you permission, then you can pretty much talk about whatever you want, and they can't blame you. You're laughing, but this 100% works. You want to try something with a spouse, try this with a spouse, right? Because when Sarah, my wife, says, hey, honey, can we talk about something? I'm like, oh, God, what did I do? Right? It's something, I did something. But as soon as I say, yeah, I'm more ready. I've tapped into my amygdala because she helped me to sort of do that. That question helped me say, okay, this is a system 1 question. Is that better? Okay. No, it's not. No, it's not me. So ask permission. Do the things that you say you will do. Nothing drives patients more batty than when you say you will come back and give them their test results later, and you don't go back and give them their test results later. Or you say, I will call you with these test results, and you don't call them with test results. That is just kind of a slap in the face. If you're not going to do it, don't say you're going to do it. If you have every intention of doing it, but you get caught up because you're busy, things come up. I'll call them. I'll call the room. Call the operator. Hey, connect me to Mrs. Smith's room. Hey, Norma, I'm not going to make it. Can I talk to you about your test results in the morning? They look okay. That is super important. And the fact that I took time out of my day to say, I'm really sorry and I'll make it later is super important. It drives me crazy when a patient comes into my office and say, Doc, you never returned my phone call. And that means one of two things happened. Either I screwed up, and that does happen, right? I get an inbox message and accidentally delete it, or I'm out of town and I didn't get appropriate coverage, or someone got a message and didn't give it to me. That drives me absolutely batty because it looks really bad. Anyone ever call a physician and not get a phone call back? I mean, it's really frustrating. So do this. Write condolence cards to patients when they pass away. You will all have patients pass away, regardless of the specialty you go into. All of you. You'll have long-term patients pass away. Take 5 minutes. My sister-in-law gets me every year for Christmas, gets me stationery. She calls it my death stationery. She laughs at me, and it's kind of true. But it just has my name at the top, that's it. And that's what I use to write condolence cards. They're not long. But I try to follow this rubric. This is from the Chest Journal about how to write a condolence card. Very simple. It's an extremely humanizing thing to do, and you get letters back. I don't do it to get letters back, but boy, you get letters back, and there's nothing more rewarding than that. So these are 7 very simple things that I try to do on a daily basis that seem really simple, but that are easy to forget as you go through the process of becoming a physician, doing your residency, etc. And these things apply. Look, I can remember being a resident and being a fellow. And I always said, I'm going to do those things when I'm an attending. Don't wait. Do them now. Do them as a med student. Do them as a med student. Write a condolence card as a med student. What 2 things do patients want more than anything from their physician? And that's sort of the theme of all of these tweets that I just put up. They want 2 things. They want you to do 2 things. What are they? Listen is one, and care is the other. And we know empirically that the 2 things patients want are for you to listen and to know that you care. And to me, the primary one of those 2 things is the first one. Often they know you care if you simply listen. But listening's hard. Listening is not easy. We all think we know how to listen, and most of us listen poorly, me included. We listen poorly. And so we're going to do a very brief exercise to learn good listening. How many of you have done an exercise called loser learner before? Oh, good, not many. Okay, we're going to do loser learner. All right. You guys all picked a loss, right? Here's what I want you to do. You guys look so uncomfortable. This is awesome. So pick a partner, someone sitting next to you, and we're going to take 3 minutes, and one of you will be the loser, and one of you will be the learner. I've never done it in a room this size. It's probably going to get cacophonous, and that's okay. We'll deal with that. So when you're the loser, your job is to tell the story of the loss. Okay? When you're the learner, your job is to be a listener, and you have to follow these rules. You're going to find this to be difficult. Okay? So we're going to do that for 3 minutes. We're going to flip-flop. If you were the loser, you're going to become the learner, and vice versa. And then we're going to come back and sort of talk together about what that was like. Is that fair? Anyone have questions? All right, if someone doesn't have a partner, I'm happy to do this. I actually really like to do loser learner. So I'm happy to be someone's partner, but you guys, we're going to start the clock right now. So someone be the loser, someone be the learner. Go. Okay, that was 3 minutes. So everyone take a deep breath. Collect your thoughts. Switch. And now if you were the loser before you're the learner, and if you were the learner before you're the loser, go for it. All right. All right, you guys, let's come back. So let's talk for a minute. You have microphones in front of you. Do they work? Yeah, okay, perfect. So anybody want to share what it was like to be the learner? Go ahead. Can you push the button on the microphone and speak into the mic? To the very bottom. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I found myself thinking, oh, I know that happened to me, and then consciously stopping myself from chiming in with my own experiences and just listening.
Yes, so biting your tongue, right? Wanting to sort of, oh, I got a story that's just like that, right? What else was it like to be the learner? Go ahead.
It was kind of hard because at one point she was kind of like doubting herself or how she handled the situation, and I just wanted to affirm her, but it was hard to just stay quiet and keep listening.
Yeah, you wanted to fix it, right? Yeah, you totally wanted to fix it. What else? What else was it like being the learner? Let me ask this question about being the learner. What'd you say? If you can't say any of these things, which is frankly probably most of what we want to say when we're a learner, what'd you say?
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. What else?
Tell me more.
Who said that? Tell me more. Absolutely. Tell me more. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Like a brief summary
Yeah, so sort of teach back, right? Where you sort of empathically summarize. So it sounds like X, Y, Z. Yeah, go ahead.
Gosh.
Go, nice. Yes, you get an A. Good job. Good job. Anyone else? Okay, what was it like to be the loser? Go ahead.
I actually had a loss this last Friday that I have been kind of struggling and wasn't really sure how to deal with it. And the learner was silent while I was speaking, and we actually had a moment of silence, and I feel a lot better.
Okay, so it helped. What else? What else is like? Go ahead. Back in the back. Hold on, back in the back.
I realized I've talked about this loss before because it's been a little while. I realized no one has ever given me 3 minutes to just say things about it. And I ran out, I was like, oh, there's so many things, but I haven't had time to
Yeah.
say all of them.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
So I personally felt like I was just saying too many things. So it kind of felt like I was just going on to fill the air with words. So I almost was dependent on that feedback.
Yeah, that 3 minutes that's a long time, isn't it? To talk about anything. What else? What else did it feel like to be the loser? Vulnerable. Say more. Sorry, you can't get away with vulnerable. That's such a magic word.
You're just talking about something personal that with someone you may not know very well.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, loss hurts, right? I mean, there's various degrees of hurt with loss, but loss hurts. Yeah.
I needed actually more time because it didn't seem long enough to actually explain the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's highly variable, sort of. Sometimes so I do this not infrequently, and sometimes depending on the loss, I'm like, oh man, that was 3 minutes. Or other times I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Sort of like you said for the rest of this time, because I'm kind of lost out here. Anyone else? Go ahead.
When I wrote down my loss, I just wrote down the particular item or the particular part of my life that was lost. But then as I started talking, I was realizing the connections between other losses. And for me, it was kind of like an insight moment of oh, that's it. That's why it felt so much deeper than just that one thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I often will make connections for myself when I'm the loser that I hadn't made before, or realize that something was more meaningful to me than I had noticed. Anything else?
Kind of to echo.
Wait, where are you? I can't. Oh,
Right there. Kind of to echo what somebody back there said. I think it was the first time I said what I said out loud. I know I went through it in my mind, but especially in the past 2 years in med school and just in my life in general, I think I practiced being the learner so much, I never actually share anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else? I don't want to give, this is, I love this exercise, and we could spend the next half an hour just talking about this if you want. I'll tell you what I do every time I do this. I probably do this exercise twice a month. And every time I do, I call my mom on the way home. Because I'm really bad at not doing this when my mom's talking to me. For whatever reason, it's this is a Freudian issue that I have. But I think that the point of saying that is to say that, look, we all have people who we just don't listen to that well, that we should listen to better. And so you just did this. It's fresh. Call someone on the way home that you just want to pay a little bit more attention to and use this. I'm going to go on, okay? If that's okay. But listening, that's the important part. So we talked about relationships, and I'm going to make the argument that the loser-learner exercise is the best way to sort of really garner close relationships, is to listen well. And we're going to talk now about recharge time. And I'm going to tell you that some of the things I'm going to talk about may be controversial. It may not. I'm probably preached to converted for a bunch of people who decided to take an entire day out to sort of do this. But if I told some of these to my colleagues back at work, they may kind of roll their eyes about this. So I'm just going to sort of throw that out there, and we can talk about it later if you want. So why am I qualified? Well, why am I standing here talking to you? I'm going to tell you why. For me, the resilience equals relationships plus recharge time. The first part for me is easy, okay? The relationships part, and that sounds hubristic, and I don't mean it to sound hubristic, but it's written in my DNA that I connect with people. I enjoy it. It is where I derive my energy. So I've always been someone who has tried to garner good relationships because I get that, is it oxytocin? What is it? Oxytocin, serotonin, whichever one it is, I forget. Because I feed off of it. So that part was always easy for me. This part, the recharge time, was not. Okay? And I had an experience on June 14th of 2016 that changed that for me. I was in Denver, Colorado, at the Denver Botanical Gardens with my family. My family takes a two-year, oh my God, that would be awesome. Wow. We take a 2-week vacation every year. And we usually go someplace good, and we went to Denver and Vail and did a bunch of hiking. But I was sitting at the Denver Botanical Garden at this little thing that we called the sponge beds, like for my little son, like just a safe play area for little kids, like from Nemo, sponge beds. So we were sitting, I was watching him at the sponge beds, and my wife was off with my other kids in sort of the funner play area. And I was just kind of sitting there, and my phone rang. And it was a friend of mine who said, "Hey, Gabe," and she was crying. And she said, "So-and-so died." And I just said, "What? Who?" No. And it was true. A good friend of mine who was also a physician committed suicide. Someone who was 6 years my senior and was really the cloth from which I was trying to cut myself. He was someone that I said, if anywhere across the medical school campus was someone that I said, I'm going to be that guy in 6 years, it was him. And I couldn't believe it. I was floored. It was a beautiful sunny day. My son was playing on this beautiful thing, and I was just free falling. We were at the very beginning of our vacation, and I really had a hard time with whether or not to come home for the services or whether to stay there, and I wound up staying there. But it hit me really hard, and it made me realize a lot of things about the way I was doing I felt like I was doing some things wrong. And so I reevaluated the way I approached recharge time, big time that day. And I continue to on a daily basis. And my life today, as compared to June 13th, 2016, is a lot different. And the way I structure my life is a lot different. So I'm going to make the argument that the way you structure your work is a direct manifestation of the way you structure your life and your priorities. So in med school and residency a little bit, you guys are sort of stuck, right? You have to accomplish X, Y, Z. And that's true. At some point down the road, you're going to be able to control things a little bit more, not a ton, but some. And you need to understand that the way you choose to work is going to have massive effects on the way that you live your life. So I'm going to give you a few things that I've found to be helpful in structuring my work such that it reflects the priorities that I have. As much as possible, keep work at work. And I know that Graham talked this morning about sort of blending the two a little bit, and I think his point was a little bit different. My point is to say that when I go home, I need to be a dad and a husband and a dog owner as much as I can. This is not always possible, okay? Last night, I was sitting, literally going through this talk, and my wife was writing notes from the day, which drives me crazy. And my phone rang, and it was a patient's daughter, and her dad was at the local ER, and what should they do? And we talked through it a little bit. They wound up being transferred down to Methodist Hospital. And my plan this morning was to come in and do yoga with everybody. But that didn't work because this guy's dying at Methodist Hospital. And so I had to make the choice that was going to sort of trump a little bit of my home, the things that I wanted to do that reflected my home, because that was important. So it's not always completely controllable is the point of that story. But that was important to me. And to me, protecting that relationship made it such that taking that time this morning was really important. So keep work at work. Here's, there were generations and are generations of physicians who think that the more you're in the hospital, the better physician you are. And I don't think that way at all. The best thing that you can do in your training after you master sort of medicine is master efficiency. Become good at what you do and become good at what you do quickly. It's super important. So this is the signature line on my email. And I try the best I can to adhere to not emailing on weekends and after 5 p.m. because it's important. It's important to me that I not be at home doing work because that was the old me. That was the June 13, 2016 me. I'd be emailing till 10 o'clock every night. I yell at my wife about this all the time. All notes should be done before leaving the hospital or clinic. Not always doable, mostly doable. And it's required that I change my work structure to be able to accomplish this. I see very complicated neuromuscular patients. A lot of them are on home ventilators, and I used to do 20-minute return visits and 40-minute new visits. And I was taking work home. And I said, I'm not doing that. 30-minute returns, 1 hour news, and that'll work for me. And I got a little bit of pushback and said, look, this is the way I'm going to do it, or I'm not going to do it at all. Now, what happened? It affected my pocketbook. But to me, that recharge time and not having to take those notes home and continue working into the night was important. Being able to go home, coach my son's cross-country team, and not have to worry about the fact that I had 8 notes to write was important. Make your phone behave as a phone. Graham already said this. This is hugely important. Chris Huffer, raise your hand. Show everyone your phone. Chris is a colleague of ours who trained with Graham and I have thought about going to a dumb phone. It's so hard, though. I can't get from point A to point B without a map. So as much as possible, make your phone behave like a phone. That means taking email and Facebook off of your phone. If you don't know how to take your email off your phone, it's right there. It's in the settings screen. Go to settings, accounts, click on the account, and just click the mail over. This is huge, the fact that I don't have my mail on my phone. I'm on my phone a lot less. I ditched Facebook around Christmas time. I ditched it a little bit before then, but then I kind of relapsed, and then I went back. This is important because time with me buried in this thing is time away from the people that are important to me when I'm at home, because my time at home is limited. Don't do work on vacation. This is huge. A lot of people, a lot of physicians, a lot of academic physicians especially, see vacation as a time to get projects done, academic projects. That is the dumbest thing ever. This is my family. So that's my wife and our 4 kids. And we hiked 34 miles through the Smoky Mountains last summer with nothing but what was on our back. And I could not have done this 5 or 6 years ago. I just would not have had it in me because we had 0 cell service, none. It was awesome. But I could not have done it before. I was the guy, and here's a time lapse of us breaking down camp, and I'll talk about why we're doing it. It's about 30 seconds. I was a guy who, when I first became faculty, would take all my work with me and work from the beach, right? I'd have my phone, be typing emails on my phone, or have my computer down at the beach doing work. That's stupid. So I went from that to, okay, I'll do a half an hour of email in the mornings. And then the rest of the day, I won't do anything. The problem with that was I'd get an email that would piss me off. And then it would completely ruin that entire day of vacation. So I stopped doing that. You can ask Graham, I do not check email when I'm on vacation. And my out of office reply says exactly that. I'm gone until such and such a day. I will not check my email until after I get back. Because that, to me, this is sacred time. And if I'm just going to get emails that are going to upset me and ruin my day while I'm in, the Smoky Mountains, I just don't need that. It's pointless. And it will happen to you. You guys will all go into positions where you'll get frequent emails that piss you off. So just leave them be, especially while you're on vacation. Reflect on how you work and plan accordingly. So if I have a deadline, okay, and I have work time and then a vacation and then maybe a week of work time, if this deadline's coming up, it will ruin this vacation for me because I'll be thinking about it. So I've learned that I've had to move the deadline forward and get it done before I go on that vacation. For me, I just can't relax with that deadline upcoming pretty quickly after I get back from vacation. So I just try as best as I can to move it up. That requires me looking sort of like months and weeks ahead on my calendar. But I've reflected on the way I work, and I've learned that that's important. See these two smiling people? I hate these people. I cannot work on a plane for the life of me. I got this dude over here having his third gin and tonic. I got some baby screaming behind me. And inevitably, I tell myself, oh, I'll finish that talk on the plane. Or I'll catch up on my charts on the plane. It never works. I want to be the dude with the gin and tonic. So I no longer work on planes, and I plan my life that way. Normally what I do is I download a bunch of Netflix shows, and I sit there and I just let myself binge because I love it. So that's required me to reflect on how I work and plan accordingly. I cannot plan on that being productive time unless you consider watching Breaking Bad productive, which I do. Pay attention. Admit when you need to slow down, and admit when you need assistance. This will happen to over a third of you. You will have difficulties that require you to take time and slow down. It may be difficulties that make you say, hey, I need a little bit of time off. It may be difficulties that say, hey, I need Lexapro. I take Lexapro once a day to put that shit in the water. Because I have a difficult job. People die around me all the time. And I get anxious as hell. I worry about people constantly. I wake up in the middle of the night worrying about them. And it got pervasive. It got hard. I've always been an anxious person. I don't know, I've since I was a kid. My son's the same way. Big deal. Who cares? I deal with it. It's fine. I bounce things off my wife. I take my Lexapro. It's good. So if you're one of these people, don't worry about it. Admit it. There's a ton of us. I promise you. Find those activities that recharge you and do them as much as humanly possible. These are going to vary from person to person. Here are mine. Oops. Maybe not. I run. I coach my son's cross-country team. I'll run my, 15th half marathon in May. I run every day almost. I did it when I was a resident and a fellow. So if you are putting things off and saying I'll run as a faculty member, that's just dumb. You won't. Your life is not going to become less busy. It's going to become more busy. So just create habits that are successful. So that's one for me. I meditate. So there's actually a meditation session going on right now. They're actually repeating it on the next one. I'm going to go to that one. I meditate once a day for at least 10 minutes. I use Headspace, or I've been using 10% Happier. It's really helpful for me to sort of step back and be able to step outside of the emotions that I'm experiencing about things. I write. So I have one of these journals, 1 line a day. It's actually 4 lines. I don't know why they call it 1 line a day. It should be called 4 lines a day. And I write a little reflection about the day every day. Something my kids said, or something I was happy about, or something that upset me. I like it. It helps me to sort of get rid of some of that stuff. I read voracious. Oh man, I did it again. I'm almost done. I read voraciously. I've read 16 books since the beginning of the year. I read every day for at least half an hour, at least. When I'm on vacation, that to me is pretty much time to sit on a beach with a fruity drink and a book. These are the ways that I recharge. So find those things that are for you. None of these may resonate with any of you guys. That's fine. I don't care about that. But these are the ones that I've found have been helpful for me. And my wife knows that come 9:45 at night, I shut down because I'm reading my book. And she can't talk to me anymore. I'm kind of laughing, but at the same time, it's sort of true. And she laughs about it too. But so it's like 9:35. She's like, all right, I got 6 things to talk to you about really quickly before we start reading your book. Like she sees me like brushing my teeth. She's like, oh my God, I got to get this stuff in. So she knows that is sacred time for me, period. This is sacred. This is my recharge time. She knows that. She knows if I don't get it, I'm a bear. So she's more than happy to let me have it. This is what resilience is for me. This is what's helped me keep my amygdala connected to my cortex and be able to switch back between system 1 and system 2 thinking with a little bit of agility. This is important. If you don't take time like you are today to pay attention to some of this stuff, you'll wake up one day and have problems. So work to create connections. We talked about some very easy ways to do at the beginning. Find out what resilience is for you and how to keep your batteries full, and practice slowing down and reflecting on how you work. I'm happy to take any questions. I think we're out of time though, aren't we? 5 minutes, questions. I'm going to stand here until we get a question.
So did you get pushback from people that you're working with or administration when you started to make these changes in your life?
The one that they pushed back a little bit on was when I changed my clinic times. And I just kind of said, you know what? It's my salary that's going to go down. And if you want me to be, luckily burnout's getting a lot of press right now. So there is a lot of interest in sort of creating systems that make physicians more happy and more satisfied with their work, and so it was less of a sell for then. What else? Go ahead.
Did you find that there was a lot of trial and error for you in finding the things that were beneficial?
Oh my
in your
God,
personal
yeah.
life?
It's been. I've been a physician for 15 years. It's been 15 years of trial and error. Yes, the trial and error accelerated after my friend committed suicide. Because I realized that I needed to make changes now. But yeah, it's all trial and error. I mean, life, we're all just practicing. We're all muddling through together. I continue to muddle just like I did, 5 years ago. It's just, I feel happier with my muddling than I did before. But I continue to sort of tweak, make changes, etc. All right. Thanks, guys.